What's up guys, it's Rokte here and welcome back to yet another amazing video on the channel. So for today I got an amazing deck profile, the last deck profile of 2021. Can you believe it, guys? It is actually a deck that I made as a joke to begin with, but it's actually kind of really bad. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the fact that it is actually really fun, really cheap. It's sort of the biggest meme in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. If you haven't seen the title yet, it is of course WarRocks, and it is a going second version of WarRocks because going first, they do absolutely nothing. So without any further ado, let's get straight into this deck profile. Quick announcement right before we get to the deck profile. I want to give a special thanks to Luca. Luca, you know who you are. He actually emailed me a list that he's been testing for a deck profile that I posted a while back of weather painters, and I've actually been able to get a lot of ideas from that and adapt my build, you know, according to what his ratios and his reasonings behind all the cards and why he plays them. So Luca, big thank you to you. I thought I'd give you a shout out. Actually, the first person to ever on this channel's history ever contact me through an email. You guys are always more than welcome. I always love responding to you guys' comments, even when I'm not posting videos, as I did take a bit of a break for Christmas and New Year's. You can always reply. You can always leave a comment down below and I'll always reply. You can even send me emails. I'll always be replying to you guys. You guys are amazing. I love your ideas. You always have so many ideas. After the deck profiles, I always look at the comments and I'm like, damn, that's actually a really good idea. So please feel free to comment down below. I'll make sure I read all of them. Even if they're not, you know, the nicest of comments because you disagree with things, just say it, you know, in a nice-ish way, and I'll always reply and always thank you for it. So without any further ado, let's actually get to this deck profile now. So let's get straight into this deck profile. So to start off the WarRocks, we got triple WarRock Fortia. We're playing her at 3 because when, you know, after damage calculation, when a WarRock monster battles, she's basically just a search for any single WarRock card. The one you're going to be usually getting is the quick play spell. If you don't know what the quick play spell does, I will explain it once we get there, but it's essentially just a negate or spell and trap negate during the battle phase. And it's really good because it also pumps up your guys by 200 attack. All of them have that theme. They all pump themselves up by 200 attack and gain additional effects. So during the battle phase, you can actually do a lot of damage. And when you add the cards I am playing to support them, you can actually OTK quite consistently. All of the WarRock monsters, all the little ones at least, have the effect where if they actually are destroyed by card effect, they do summon another WarRock from the deck. So sort of forces your opponent to go into the battle phase, and sort of like is versatile in that effect that if you get rid of them by a card effect, they are replacing themselves. So that is kind of actually a really cool part of the WarRocks. For the last 3 of here, because the rest we do play out one, is triple of the WarRock Gactos. We're playing him simply because he just special summons himself from the hand, and if he's destroyed by card effect, a level 5 or higher WarRock will come from the deck. For the actual big guys, the guys that will be pumping out a lot of damage, we've got one WarRock Meteoragon. He's really neat because he cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects, and when an attack is declared involving this card and opponent's monster, it just blanket negates that card and all cards with the original name. So really useful in the Cyber Dragon matchup. And once per turn during a battle phase in which a warrior earth monster battles, quick effect, he can make all WarRock monsters you control gain 200, and then he actually gains a second attack. So that's actually really cool when pushing for the OTKs. For example, he attacks, effect, give himself 200, and he can attack again. So that's really useful. We've got one WarRock Bechelios. He was the OG before the new support came in terms of the big guys, but he's actually really neat as well, because during a battle phase, when an Earth Warrior monster battles, quick effect, you can activate this effect, he can attack directly. So that's actually really useful in terms of if there's, you know, you're in time and you just need to get the battle phase, he can just attack himself directly. He can attack directly as long as you have another WarRock monster to battle with. And he also gives them the 200 attack, which is the theme that all of them have. So if you have 5 of them, essentially you can, you know, give them a bunch of attack because they will stack on top of each other. Also, when he's in the hand or graveyard, if an Earth Warrior monster is destroyed by battle, you can special summon him from the grave, but he gets banished, but that's really not important. The important part is that he does, you know, give you a body. And he's 2,700 defense as well. He's actually really big. For the level 6s and 5s, we've got one WarRock Skylar, one WarRock Mahmud, and one WarRock Orphis. These 2 you can normal summon without tributing if all you control are Earth Warriors or you don't control anything at all. And Skylar essentially gains 100 attack for each monster your opponent controls, is really good. The reason you play her is because even though she's a bit more difficult to bring out, you usually have to rely on your WarRock Mountain. She's a monster reborn in the battle phase for a level 5 or higher, so I feel like that's really useful. WarRock Mammoth, when he attacks, or when a Earth Warrior attacks, he is basically an MST, and Orphis is a Foolish Burial, and they all do that 200 attack gain thing as well. So I feel it's useful versatility to play one of each. I don't play many of the high level ones, as you can see, this is all of them, because you don't really want to brick, and bricking in this deck is a death sentence, because you know how YuGiOh is, you will not get another turn, and you really need all your cards to count, which is why I'm minimizing the chances of bricking. For stuff that I play to support, you know, the WarRocks, I do play double alpha and one Pancratops. This is a going second, you know, deck, so these really help when breaking boards or baiting negates. And essentially you want your WarRocks to go up against 0 negates, because even though I have optimized, you know, the WarRock ratios, there's only so much you can do with WarRocks, and you really need to be playing them against 0 negates, because as soon as you start negating your WarRocks, your deck basically just falls apart. So we got stuff here that helps bait negates, Appaloozas, you know, stuff like that. Omni negates like Baron de Fleur, we can bait them out with Pancratops and Alpha, and then start with our normal summon WarRock and continue from then, hopefully OTK them. And they're also quite big themselves with 3000 attack and 2600, so really useful in terms of OTKs. We are playing some Kaijus, of course. This synergizes really well actually with Alpha, because you can bounce them back to your hand and then Kaiju something again. Really useful when you're hitting Appaloozas and stuff like that. We're playing double Gamma Seal and one Jizz Akuru, so we got the Gamma Seal because he's the smallest Kaiju. We got Jizakuru because he's the largest Kaiju. Simple as that. And for the only hand trap we play, we got triple of the Scythe Frame Gear Gamma, and of course the brick that accompanies him. So in this format, I feel like unless you're playing 15 hand traps, you really need to be playing board breaking cards, which is what, you know, I have optimized the deck for. But Gamma is just so good in terms of he does give you 2 free bodies on board. And you can see from the extra deck I optimize it so that when you do negate like an Ash or something, when you activate Rota or your WarRock Mountain, you can actually gain so much advantage of these 2 monsters alone that you can basically bait more negates and then, you know, assure that your WarRock stuff goes through. So that is why I'm playing the Gamma and the Driver. Of course, this is a brick, but that is a risk you really need to take in a deck like this. When it comes to the spells, we got triple of the WarRock Mountain. It's actually alright. It's not as bad as people think. You activate it and you just get a WarRock monster from your deck to your hand, and then at the start of the battle phase, if all you control are warrior monsters, you can special summon one WarRock monster from your hand. So it does help get the high level ones out of your hand. This is the main way that you are going to be summoning them. And yeah, if they won't be destroyed by battle, which they usually are, because they won't be destroyed by card effects, as I say, they all float, all the little ones, you can just send this to the grave instead, and it sort of saves your guy. So actually really nice card, helps with consistency in terms of seeing WarRock monsters in your hand. And yeah, I wouldn't play anything less than 3. For the quick play spell, we actually have the best card in the WarRock, you know, arsenal in my opinion. WarRock Dignity. If you don't know what this card does, as long as you control a WarRock monster, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you can just negate it. And then specifically during the battle phase, when your opponent activates a spell or trap, it also negates that as well. This is what you're mainly going to be searching with your 4-tier. This is during your opponent's turn. They activate a monster effect. Let's say they play Tri Brigade, they banish 2 for cost. Boom, you hit them with a WarRock Dignity. This is the main card you'll be searching, and the reason the deck is, you know, sort of good during the battle phase and things like that is because WarRock Dignity is just an insane card. Do not play this card anything less than 3. You really want this card in your hand at all times, as long as you have WarRocks. For the last spell we are playing with the WarRocks, is 1 WarRock Spirit. I really wanted to play 2 of this, but I really wanted to keep the deck count below 42. I was really struggling to keep it at 40, and I thought 42 would be okay considering we are playing the Driver, and that reduces the chances of us seeing that card in our hand. WarRock Spirit, if you don't know, I'd use this mostly as a defensive card. Basically, during the battle phase, you can either special summon a WarRock in attack position but negate its effects, or special summon a WarRock in defense position, and then each time WarRock monster you control would be destroyed by battle, it is not. So basically you can use this really defensively, special summon back one of your big guys, and then they have to essentially be over it twice. So yeah, 3 times even if you have the WarRock Mountain as well. So really good for the defensive, and helps push for OTKs as well. During the battle phase, just activate it, boom, get more damage, and then attack. For our power spells, we got triple of the Forbidden Chalice. This is probably the best 1-for-1 at the moment, apart from Book of Moon, which I am not playing. I'm playing Forbidden Chalice instead. Why? Because this also gives stuff attack, which can come up, believe it or not. It is an OTK deck, and this is really good for trading with Baron de Fleurs, for your Destiny Hero, Phoenix Enforcers, stuff like that. You really want to be hitting them with a Forbidden Chalice and playing through. And it's not once per turn either, like Droplet is. I was considering playing Droplet, but you really need your cards on board and cards in hand because this deck isn't very good. So I just felt that Forbidden Chalice, the 1-for-1, is better. For another really powerful spell here, I'm playing double of the Triple Tactics Talent. This card is absolutely insane. When your opponent activates a monster effect during your main phase, you can activate 3 broken cards: Pot of Greed, Snatch Steal, or not Snatch Steal, Change of Heart, or Forceful Sentry, which is crazy. So you either draw 2 cards, take control of one monster opponent controls. It actually does come up a lot. I do use that effect a lot to help push for damage, steal like Dragoons and stuff since it doesn't target. Or if you are, forced to go first, and you sort of, best thing you can do is make a rank 4 play, and they hand trap you, you can look at their hand and discard one, and just put one back in the deck, sorry, and then you know what you're going up against. Really versatile card. For the draw power, which I actually, don't consider Tactics as a draw card because I don't really use it for that, I do have the double Pot of Desires. We do play a lot of one-offs, but then again, it is WarRock, so it doesn't really matter that much what you banish, because your other cards will help you push for damage as well, if you know what I mean. So Pot of Desires is kind of free in this deck. As long as you don't banish like 3 or 4 tier and 3 of Dignity, you're fine. And for the power spells here, we've got 1 Raigeki. Believe it or not, this card is actually still quite good, especially when your opponent doesn't expect it. Just boom, Raigeki. Especially if you have like 5 monster negates, just Raigeki them and get it out of the way. 1 Terraforming, this helps search your Warrock Mountain. 1 Call by the Grave, because this helps you play through hand traps, which is a big problem with this deck. If they hand trap you a lot, you can't play the game, so that is why we got Call by the Grave. And we have the 1 Instant Fusion. This helps a lot. You'll see in the extra deck why, because yeah, you get basically you can bait 2 negates with that card. 1 Harpy's Feather Duster for the back row removal. You really want your Warrocks to be going through, and back row is kind of scary for this deck, so we are playing the Feather Duster. The 1 Rota, of course this is a warrior deck, we are of course playing Rota. And then the 42nd card is of course the Red Reboot. Just say no to traps for the turn. And the good thing is, actually, if you do get a WarRock Mammoth on board, the card they set, which is probably a really good, like an Imp or something, you can just pop it, so really, really nice. So that is the end of the main deck. I will be now moving to the extra deck. So for the extra deck, I had to sort of be like quite creative. You don't really go into the extra deck that much, but then again, I didn't really want to play Extravagance either, because you do sort of need, cards in your deck, like for Instant Fusion, for example. For the Gamma, you usually want to be making Omega as well. So I didn't really feel like Extravagance was worth it. I felt like Desires was fine. So this is it for the extra deck. We got 1 Boros Dragon. You don't really make it that much because you struggle getting that many bodies on board. But, with a Pankratops, with an Alpha, with a Gamma package on board, you can make him. So I do play him. The 1 Nightmare Unicorn. And the 1 Nightmare Phoenix. This is good because you need generic cards. For example, if you do take a Dragoon, you do not, under any circumstances, want to be giving it back with the triple attack at the end phase. So just link it off into anything and just stop them from getting it back. And also, they're just really good generic cards. The 1 Ausa, all your Warrocks are Earth, so again, helps when you have like a Baron de Fleur or Dragoon, just link it off with one of your Warrocks into an Ausa. 1 Isolde. If you are forced to go first, you usually make him if you can't make anything else and get a Search and Hope. And for the last link, we do have the 1 Relinquish Anima. There are no level 1s, I know, but Instant Fusion, you do bring out Thousand Eyes Restrict. So the play is, you make Thousand Eyes Restrict, you take any one of their monsters that isn't in the extra deck monster zones, or that isn't pointing to this, you then link it away, make your Anima, and then you can steal something else again. So that is absolutely crazy, and why I play this. For the Exceeders, we play 1 rank 5, because we do play a lot of level 5, so I thought, might as well chuck in a number 61. It's actually really good in time as well. We got the Utopia package here, for when you do just need a lot of damage on board, you can rely on Utopia. I don't want to play Double or Nothing, because I always draw that card, it's cursed for me. So I just play the Utopia Lightning package. 1 Tornado Dragon, if you are going against back row decks, like Guru for example, just boom, shotgun it on the Hidden City. 1 Abyss Dweller, because the graveyard I hear is very good for most Yu-Gi-Oh decks, and shutting it off is, even better. 1 Gagaga Cowboy, because, you know, you can either deal 800 for game or in time as well, 800, and then just stop playing because time rules suck and you win. And for the synchros, we actually, you know, we have the Omega, obviously, as I mentioned it already. Really good for looping cards at opponent's hands. And actually, the spicy tech is the Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. Why am I playing this? Well, because Omega doesn't actually usually bait negates that much. So, for example, they ash you, you gamma them, and then you just make your Archfiend, and this basically forces a negate or they lose all their board because it does destroy all special summon monsters on the field, doesn't target, and, you know, then they get burnt for 500. So this will bait your Baron de Fleurs and your Savage Dragons and stuff like that. It will, because they'll lose it, so they have to use it. So this is why I feel this card's really good. Omega's also really good in its own right, but sometimes you don't want to loop a card out of the hand. You just really want to be forcing those negates with the Archfiend, and especially if they have one negate and a bunch of monsters on board. If you have the Forbidden Chalice as well, they're losing everything. So that's why I feel like it's really, really good. So that is the end of the deck profile, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy my take on WarRocks. I do believe that going second, the deck is a lot better than going first, because going first, it doesn't really have many plays. I feel like the cards I implemented into the deck do help a lot, but remember, at the end of the day, guys, this is not a meta deck. It's not even a tier 2 deck or tier 3 deck. It is WarRocks. Just try and have as much fun as you can. Try to use different cards. That's what I've been trying to do. This will be, as I said, the last video of 2021. It has been a crazy year, guys. I really do appreciate all the support. I believe we entered 2021 with around almost 300 subscribers, and now we're well over 570 now. So I do appreciate the support, and hopefully in the next year we can finally hit that 1K mark. It's been a slow grind, but then again, I do this for fun anyway. It's not my job. It's not anything like that. I'm not doing it for money because I don't actually get any. I'm just doing it for fun and, you know, keeping this as a dialogue and like a diary of all the decks that I've ever owned. And that's sort of why I started the channel, just to see how many decks I could own over the years and, you know, all the profiles I have done with them. So with that being said, please do subscribe. There will be a giveaway at 1K. I haven't revealed what it is yet, but it is, I promise you, really, really good and spicy. So without any further ado, I will catch you in the next video.
It's time to